Welcome, everyone, to the episode 8 of Enter the Javelin, Mixer's first Anthem community web show. For those of you who are new here, my name is Lupo, and I will be your host for the evening. Joining us today is Wade, the man we all know as Mule, editor and contributor at mulehorngaming.com, co-host of the Analog Assault podcast, and fellow Mixer streamer in the stream team The Shed. Mule, how you doing, man? Great to see you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, bro.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, dude. So we got a lot to talk about because, I mean, we haven't really discussed a lot on air. Just what we saw at E3, some of the things that we got out of Mark Dara, Casey Hudson, Mike Gamble, the high brass. They're all talking about the game now. So this is a really encouraging thing now.
Yeah, like everyone's on the hype train, it seems like now, man. It's crazy how much information we got all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's like we went a year with 7 minutes of footage, and now we're sitting here 12 months later with footage, tweets. Game Informer's got exclusive interviews, so like,
yeah,
it's been an absolute whirlwind, and it's like the light with the roaches, you turn the light on, the roaches all scared. That's the way all the content creators are right now. So like everyone's revamping their podcast and doing this and doing that. So new stuff. Like I've seen you jump out there on YouTube more than I've seen in the last several months. So I mean, you're excited. I can see it.
I'm excited, man. Like, needless to say, like with all the new content, it just spurred me on to do more, especially with YouTube, and getting all the information out there. You can't help it but feel the hype,
No, I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
So what did you see that excites you the most out of everything we saw at E3?
So I think the thing that excited me the most, and something that I think everyone that is waiting on Anthem was waiting for, was some gameplay.
Yeah.
And getting to see the gameplay and getting to see how everything kind of worked when you're moving and you're shaking and you're shooting, like that to me was the most exciting things. Getting to see some of the ultimate like abilities that you have with like the Colossus and stuff.
Yeah.
That is what I was waiting for. And after seeing that, I was like, yes, I'm ready.
Sign me up, take my money.
Yeah, exactly. I already pre-ordered, so I'm good.
Oh, yeah. Like I saw you pre-order, and I was like, man, I can't let him get ahead of me and pre-order this before I do. So I went out like instantly, like the second thereafter, and I was like, all right, I'm good. My pre-order's in. I don't have to think about this. So what do you think about some of the things that they're offering now with, obviously EA Access. We've always had EA Access. That was a great thing for Andromeda. We got 10 hours of early gameplay for Andromeda. I ate that up in like the first 10 hours.
Yeah.
I don't think it lasted even that long. But the biggest thing now is this Origin Premiere thing. And for $20, you can have unlimited access to the game 7 days early.
Yep. Yeah.
That's insane. That's not even crazy. That's insane. Like they should lock somebody up, put the straitjacket on, and give them 3 square a day, there's what are your thoughts on that? Like as like in, you cover a lot more than just 1 or 2 games. Like you cover the entire industry. So what does that say moving forward for games as a whole?
Well, I think especially with Anthem, it's saying how confident they are in the game and the replayability, because anytime you can say, all right, we're letting you play as much as you want for 7 days early.
Yeah.
That to me is kind of like a little nod that like the replayability on this game is going to be good. It's not something you're going to get bored with. Like, Mass Effect Andromeda, like you were talking about, we only got 10 hours of that with EA Access.
Yeah.
But now, and it makes it hard for me because I'm a console guy. I got a nice PC. Now I feel like I got to get it on PC too, So
well, I mean, that's the beauty of it. You can pay the $20 for the first month and play unlimited access for the first 7 days. And like, even if I'm not gonna main on PC, which I don't know if I am or aren't, it depends on like who's playing and whenever like that. Like I'll be playing with the mules, I know that. But my friends, like, they're still skeptical. I have a couple friends that are like, all right, this game was really cool, but at the same time, some of them like, Andromeda didn't do so well. I only played X amount of, Dragon Age or this and that. So it's tough, man. But I like, unlimited frames on PC just
I
sounds
know.
so wonderful.
And I mean, for not trying to sound like harsh or anything, but with us, we're guys that kind of know everything in the industry, right? Because we keep up with it. We play games, we stream, we talk to developers.
Yeah.
So we know, like, hey, that was a different studio, guys, and that was their first at bat with Mass Effect Andromeda. Yeah, they didn't do things as good as they could have, but like this is the Bioware studio.
Yeah.
Like this is the studio that brought us Mass Effect, 2 and 3. So it's stuff that I have a lot more confidence in them than I would if it was the studio that did Mass Effect Andromeda. I mean, I still loved Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah, I did as well. And you know what? It's funny too, because like now covering Anthem as extensively as I am and getting to meet the BioWare community at large, there's a lot of people that really did enjoy the game. I was like super shocked, and I was like, I'm just ready to be like defending Andromeda whenever I can, but not going too far into it where people are like, you're just drunk on BioWare. No, like people legitimately like the game, and it's reassuring to know that like I'm not just the fanboy that thought this game was good. Like there were bad parts about the game. We can't gloss that over. But at the same time, the combat in that game was better than any Mass Effect before that. Like 3 was very good, but Andromeda took that whole combat system to another level.
Yeah. It felt like the leap from Dragon Age Origins to Dragon Age 2, where the combat just sped up so much.
Oh my god.
And it just made the gameplay so much fun. And I couldn't help, and you're talking about things being excited about. When I was watching the mechanics in the combat in Anthem, I couldn't help but see some of the similar things from Mass Effect Andromeda, because it's the same engine, right? So it's like, you're sitting here and you're watching, you're like, dude, if the combat is this good, and I know it's similar to Mass Effect Andromeda, it's gonna be freaking awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to see the way everything reacts in the game, and it's like Mass Effect was pretty clunky movement wise. Andromeda was much more fluid, and to see this is even more fluid and how well the flight mechanics look, that's a really reassuring thing. And I think the biggest takeaway from a lot of the things I saw at E3 or heard from different people is the people that were skeptical about the game, because they're all on board now. I mean, very much in front, naming people to name names, but SkillUp and Layman Gaming, like they were like, I don't know, Andromeda was a bust, this, that, and the other thing. They played the game. They weren't even supposed to play the game, and they got to play the game, and they're like, this game is really good. The controls are really good. This is that and the other thing. So, I mean, I think that's what is my rest assured for the future of this particular project at this point.
Yeah, I think too. Also, when you have people that go to E3 and they play it there, the playable demo that was there, and seeing how many awards that BioWare won as the best game at E3, and it's up against games like Cyberpunk, that should tell you something, man. It should tell you something.
Because Cyberpunk was playable. I mean, it wasn't. I don't know if it was playable in the capacity that Anthem was. Yeah. But people played it. Like I know Young played it.
Yeah, I think it was like behind closed doors or something like that. So yeah.
But to like you said, it's one thing. It's one thing when the community gives you accolades, or because your game is selling very well, or something of that nature. But when people of the industry and your peers are giving you awards like that, it's so much more significant in that sense, because they're looking at the game much more objectively than just the average consumer.
Yeah, and this is the same EA that was getting eaten alive with Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I think probably that was some of the negativity attached with Anthem. It's just, oh, EA, man, they're gonna screw up the game, and now people are seeing it and they're not so just prone to be negative because it's EA. They're actually giving it a chance, and then when they gave it a chance, they're like, hey, this actually might be pretty awesome.
So we'll go right in line with that thought process. People saw EA and they were like, oh, loot boxes, microtransactions, yada yada yada, which is beating a dead horse at this point. But I mean, there is some validity to those concerns. The thing that they came out and said, that there's going to be no loot boxes, no pay for power, no DLC, no paid DLCs. Do you think this is something that they're doing as a bigger part of the EA network, and putting out that olive branch to the rest of the consumers, or do you think this is just BioWare saying like, we have a great product, we just want people to be playing it all the time?
So I have a couple thoughts I can expand on that. So I think one thing, they heard a lot of the feedback from Star Wars Battlefront 2, and they're like, okay, let's not have another snafu of that, right?
Yeah.
So
sure.
if they did have loot boxes, I'm sure they were taken out some way, in some form. Also, I think, they're doing it right from the standpoint of having cosmetics that you can purchase if you want to purchase them. I mean, because this is the way that's kind of been accepted with like games like Overwatch.
Yeah.
And I've always said, I mean, as much as Casey Hudson and all the other developers are talking about how much of a replayability it is, the longer you're in the game, the more you're going to have the opportunity to sell something to those people who are playing the game. And if I'm playing with you, Lupo, and I'm on PC and I see this sweet skin, and I'm like, dude, where did you get that? And you're like, oh, it's in the kiosk. You can go buy it for a couple days. I'm like, I'm not going to wait for that. I'm going to go pay $2 and get it right now.
Yeah.
And so the longer you're in the game, the more replayability, I think, are some of the factors in on that. And that they're like, hey, it also is good for all the people that want to play. They're not going to feel like isolated or feel like taken advantage of, or feel like, oh no, they're just trying to get money out of me. Like, these are things you don't have to purchase it. You can just play the game.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think they did it perfectly right, because you saw in the trailer that they had that N7 skin, man, that's tugging at the heartstrings. Like, they're going for the jugular, man. Like, if we're gonna give you the option to spend money, we're gonna force you to spend money, because we know you want this.
Yeah.
Like, one of my mods, Leroy, he was talking about it on the show a few weeks ago. Do you think it's gonna be an N7 skin? I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm sure they're gonna have nods, but like, it was there, very blatantly there. We saw, so we know the N7 skin is gonna be in it. So I mean, like, you can see a lot of stuff. N7 skins, Cerberus skins, all sorts of stuff like that. Andromeda stuff. I think BioWare and EA, like, as a whole, in the last generation, did a very good job of rewarding loyalty to the publisher. There was Dragon Age stuff in Mass Effect, and Mass Effect stuff in Dead Space, and like, it was just like, as long as you were supporting the ecosystem, they always gave back to you. And I think that is what they have to do. Those are the types of things they have to do to instill consumer trust back into the gamers. I mean, I would love. I think Joe Juba, like, they had an interview with Joe Juba from Game Informer with Mark Dara, and he said the same thing. Like, can I get Isaac Clarke's suit in Anthem? Like, that would be cool too. Like, to see Isaac Clarke's suit. Like, he's like, I think Isaac Clarke is one of my favorite protagonists, because he's a regular guy.
Yeah.
He's not like military trained or anything like that. No, he's an engineer that got put in a really bad situation and just kind of made the most of it and ended up being the hero. Like, and those are like that's like the Batman versus Superman argument. Like, Batman just trained in a head case, but I mean, Superman was born with powers. So it's like, you have to have like that level of appreciation for him.
Yeah. And I agree, man, like, with the level of trust, because I know, at least in some of the circles that we kind of co-mingle in, a lot of people were hesitant, and then when they said no loot boxes, a lot of people are like, all right, man, I'm giving this game a really big chance now. Like, some of them even pre-ordered, some of them are like, okay, this is on my radar now. So I think it is a smart move for them. I think it's going to be one that will pay dividends on the long haul, rather than just a short-sighted, let's get as much money as we can now.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So without continually talking about monetization, because it seems like a general theme every time we talk about Anthem and EA and stuff like that, not just you and I, but I mean the community in general. It's just a very hot button topic, but and for good reason in most cases. But I think a big hesitation from traditional BioWare fans, and you and I spoke about this the last time you were on, is a separation from traditional BioWare design. They're not gonna have party NPCs. They're not gonna have romantic relationships. And some people are not happy about that. There's a dedicated BioWare fan base that want to see these types of things in a BioWare game. What do you think about that?
So, man, And this is something I've even said before, like publicly, is that like the thing that was worrying me when Mass Effect was coming out is how much people were hyping like the voice actors, the community managers, Bioware, the romance thing. Like, hey, that's great, man, but the whole game's not about just romancing somebody, and
Mm-hmm.
it got too overplayed in my
It did.
opinion. And to not have that, I'm completely fine with that, because if it's something that's fluid in the game, something that just happens in the game, not something you're like, I have to, like one of the achievements in Mass Effect is to romance 3 different people in your one playthrough.
Yeah.
And
I know.
like,
I'm working on my second playthrough trying to get that one. I was like, God damn, who did I romance in the first one?
yeah, and I'm like, man, I don't want to have, I just want to go shoot stuff and
Yeah.
loot stuff and have a good story. And so for me, like that part was okay. Like it's not that big of a deal for me. And what I'll say about kind of BioWare deviating from their typical, I guess, theme or way that they do games or their structure is that I've always felt like as a studio, they've kind of been on the leading edge of development. And what I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that is if you can think way, way back when you first had Knights of the Old Republic come out, you're like, oh, what is this game? This RPG? Oh, I make choices and it changes stuff. And oh, I can be good or bad, and the story will change because of that. Like there wasn't any games out there that I can remember that were like that, and so
Yeah.
it was very immersive. It was very cutting edge at the time. Like, oh man, this is a really immersive like RPG game. And now, like kind of the way culture has gone and gaming's gone, it's gone to that live service. And like I think Casey Hudson kind of alluded or talked about, like it's going to be kind of like a TV show. Like if you watch Game of Thrones, you get updates and story mode just keeps going on. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I feel like that's very smart and cutting edge because there's not a lot of games like that.
Yeah. But I like they're doing it. I think the idea that they have, because they've kind of laid it out a little bit. They're gonna maintain that BioWare uniqueness, like personal story crafting. Like so the game is gonna progress in a live service type of manner. Like X amount, particular events are gonna transpire, but the way you build relationships with people in the game and the interactions that you have with different people are going to influence how they react in the future. So you may not necessarily not have access to an activity, but it may be a different type of conversation that you have when you get there.
Yeah.
So while live service is not a new thing, and games with choices aren't a new thing, BioWare is definitely going to take that and mesh it all into one thing, and I think it's a really encouraging thing to see. And I think the biggest thing with BioWare now is they had to evolve. As much as people may or may not wanted them to do that, I think they had to take the next step. I really enjoy Mass Effect. It's my favorite game of all time. Mass Effect 2 is my favorite game of all time without even hesitating to say it. Dragon Age I felt was very good. I enjoyed Dragon Age 2. Like you said before, Dragon Age 1 was a little tough to get around, so I didn't play a whole lot of it. Inquisition was good, but it was huge. It was massive. It was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough to like really like dive into all the time. But this is definitely that obvious departure, but because those two games were pretty similar in structure, like the way that the story was crafted and the way your actions kind of manipulate the story in the world, and this is new, this is different. So I think it's a very obvious evolution that BioWare has to make, and they knew that. They like closing up Mass Effect. They Casey Hudson, they said they were making this idea in 2011. Like Mass Effect 3 wasn't even out yet. Like they were just finishing up Mass Effect 2 and Dragon Age 2. Mass Effect 3 is not even out, and they're already thinking about the next thing. So it's like they're very ahead of the curve here, like you said.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man, is that like you're kind of talking about how they had to kind of evolve. Well, yeah, gaming has become very social now. It's very social. And if you're someone like me, you'll play a great story, but after you're done with that story, what do? Well, you go play other games, right? Because oh, my friends are playing Destiny right now, I want to go play with them. Oh, they're playing Division, I want to go play with them. Whatever it would be, and so to kind of intermingle those, and the way that they're doing it is is actually kind of cool because your base, like you were saying, like I may have this guy that might not even be in my base, or he may hate my guts and really love you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. And then everybody's comms are going to be different. Like, so if, you know, NPC X is, you know, the narrator of the particular mission that you're on, he may have a different demeanor. Like, he may not trust you to get the job completed, because that's just the level of trust or lack thereof that you've instilled in him at that point.
You know, and I was thinking about how they talked about, you know, the choices you make will reflect how your base looks and things like that. How cool would it be? And I know, you know, people who've played like, you know, RPGs or MMOs have always thought about this, but how cool would it be if like you had like some type of trophy case or something like that in your area, so that you can like kind of show off to your friends and be like, oh, look, I did this mission and I did this to get these choices, and now check out something cool I have that you don't.
Well, I think I think they're saying that's going to be the armor, like the armor that you get is going to be like the direct representation of what you've done in the world.
Yeah, but I would like to have like a trophy case though. Man.
No, I get that, but like what they've alluded to so far is the one hesitation that I've had with what's the other one, Division, is that you have the base of operations, and it's not a social space, you know. So like I get this is where they're trying to craft the story, and your Tarsus is going to be different than my Tarsus, but let's just hope they have other bases where, like you said, they can do these things. Like they have there is I believe the Temple of Dawn is a thing that's going to be in there. Like the Legion of Dawn is the first freelancers, or the first heroes of the world that we're in, and they have the Temple of Dawn or something of that Altar of Dawn. I don't remember what it's exactly called, but I heard the Freelancer Codex guys talking about it, because they got they didn't get hands on, but they saw the thing, and they opened the map there at EA Play, and everybody saw what was going on. So there was a something of Dawn. So maybe that's a social space that you can go to, and this is the Hall of Records, or the you know, the place to show off, like you said.
Yeah, like the Jedi archives.
Yeah, exactly. Something of that nature.
Yeah.
So I mean, going with the whole theme of saying people's hesitation from traditional Bioware types of stuff. People often say that they're not going to be able to pull this game off, but what people don't realize is that Star Wars: The Old Republic has been going for 6-7 years now.
Yeah, it's been going for a while, man.
So I mean, that is a very active. It's more MMO than the MMOs that we're used to on console, you know. So, I'm fully confident that they can produce something like that, and I think with the time that they put into it, they kind of understand what they need to do to constantly have something for the player to do.
Well, I think too that's where the multiplayer aspect of this comes in, and how BioWare is diverging from their typical single-player focused game, is that the multiplayer is really going to keep people in the game for a long period of time. A great example of that is Destiny 1. Like, it had so many dry spells in its content or whatever that it was trying to put out, but because there was friends that were playing it and there was multiplayer in it, you played it. You still played it. You know, you still did the Nightfall because you had your friends to play it. And so I think, you know, the way that the devs are talking about replayability with, I mean, I don't know how the loot tables are going to look, but there's already like 6 different tiers of loot.
Yeah.
Something like that. So it sounds like there's going to be like almost Diablo style loot with lots of replayability. That alone will keep you like engaged in the game for a really long time.
Yeah. And then the second they add like augmentations and stuff like that, like it just adds like extra little layers of things to do. Like, you know, everyone had the weapons that they loved in Diablo, but if they didn't have the sockets for the things that you preferred to use, like you go out and go look for another one, you know, like that's just the way that the game was, you know, and that's the way Destiny was in its first 3 years. You had, you know, random rolls, and if you didn't have the perfect rolls on it, you went out and you got the next set of thing.
Yeah, and how long do you think you're going to sit there and actually customize your armor, man? Like, I might spend 45 minutes like, dude, I need to make this
every time I get on.
You know, so you got that you're going to spend a lot of time on. You got, like, you also have crafting that you're going to spend time on. So you're going to be in game for quite a while, and having that social aspect, I don't think you can downplay that. And so I really, like I keep saying it, but I really think this mashing together of the ideas is going to help keep the game current and active for a very long time.
I really want to see what they do with the crafting, because Andromeda's crafting system was pretty lackluster, to say the very least. Like, you could do some cool things, and if you were just like, I want to just make the craziest possible gun, like, I don't know if you saw, like, people they called it a vampire gun, because basically anytime you did damage, you healed yourself at the same time.
Yeah.
So that is definitely something that's cool. But I think in a game like this, a game that's very like loot based and progression based and social at the same time, if you're gonna do crafting, it's got to be something significant. So maybe if you do all of the things from this particular region, you get a piece for each thing, and that's the crafting for that thing. So that, like you said before, you now have a trophy that you carry with you at all times. You have this weapon or this armor or this attachment that shows that you finished all of the things in the area around Tarsus. And if people didn't do the last stronghold in that area, they're not going to have that part to do that.
Yeah, like you got to get X, Y, and Z in order to get this, or you get this achievement, and then it's like some kind of patch or something on your armor that would be super cool to show off.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
I hope so. So let's jump into some endgame conversation. So I mean, we continue calling it endgame, but it's truly the Elder game. They call it the Elder game because endgame implies that that's it. That's where it stops, Yeah. So they're going about it calling it the Elder game because it makes more sense to say, like, this is actually when the game starts. This isn't the stop point. This is the beginning point. Ben Strong, he's very active in the Discord. He's very active on Reddit. His Reddit name is Bioware Ben. I know him as the Diesel because that's what his Discord name has always been, and he's got that funny mask on, But
yeah.
He's a really solid dude, and he's always getting into conversations. But he posted a very interesting thread on Reddit about the endgame. Endgame is really important. Endgame gets more important the day after launch. Replayability is a core goal of the content. The community is going to help us improve, shape, drive the long-term direction of the endgame content. We will involve you and we will listen to you. The endgame should be accessible to as much of the community as possible, but it shouldn't be watered down in the name of accessibility. Huge thing.
Yeah.
Content can be difficult, exciting, rewarding, and still be accessible. It should not foster toxicity or elitism. It should reward achievement, skill, and mastery, and it's easy to understand but difficult to master.
Yeah.
That's pretty much like, look at all the things that the other live service games did, and let's not do those things, or let's take the good things that they did and make it a little bit better.
And that's the one thing, if I can take away one worry about Anthem, it almost feels like it's going to be too good, It's like all the devs sat and watched all these games and had this planning for like 10 plus years, and they're like, okay, that's good, let's do that. That's good, let's do that. That, and not so much, let's not do that. So every time I hear these guys talking about the game, I'm like, it's like you've been reading my mind for the last 10 years, man.
Yeah. Seriously.
And so it's the only thing I'm a little worried about. Like, is it going to be too good? Are you just saying that? Or what's it going to really be like,
I want it to be, but I hope that there's periods of, like, downtime where you can do other things. But, I mean, they hope the game to be very, like, active and dynamic, where the game is constantly changing, that they can put a post out on Twitter and say, hey, look, all of this area is now a tundra, and different enemies are going to be there. You're going to have higher level difficulties and stuff like that. And then that's only going to be available for the week, because that's the way that they designed the world to react, is that, like, they've built whatever they want directly into the lore. So if they want to wipe the entire slate clean, they can, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, that's the craziest part about all of this. If what they put out, day one with vanilla, people don't like it, they can literally go and scratch everything, and then it still makes sense. It's not Realm Reborn, It's not like they have to theory craft some sort of revision to everything, It's built into the story.
Yeah.
So, like, while I get that's like a little bit of a cop out, but at the same time, it's very, like, good that they're protecting themselves in this way, because they see the reaction that people have had to the lackluster end game and progression systems, or just the way the game plays. So they have that ability to change things on the fly.
Yeah, and that makes the game very fluid, and it won't be as reactive. It can be proactive. So, you can start hearing some rumbles in the community of like, oh, I really wish this was in like this raid or in this area. And then they may be like, you were saying, like tweet out, oh, well, you got this for 2 weeks. Have at it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's really cool because that keeps the game fresh. It keeps it fun, and it, like the way they keep talking about the world changing with whatever you do, that really has me curious, man. Like, okay, so if I go take out this stronghold and then a storm comes, is there something going to be different with that stronghold? Like,
yeah,
what's going to go down there? I'm going to find some different tech or something like that. Like,
is there like low gravity or something where you gotta like think twice about how like the enemies are all standing upside down? Like who knows? Like
am I going to find Shepard's dog tags in there?
Yeah, this is where he ended up after the synthesis.
Yeah.
But that was watching the demo. That was my biggest hesitation that they've kind of put to rest recently. Is a lot of people were saying this is a stronghold. So, like that's what they showed. They showed a stronghold. Now, what people were inferring is that strongholds were the end game, and that's it. Stronghold is a raid. That's it. This is your pinnacle activity, and that worried me a lot. that would worry me a lot because while it looked difficult enough to warrant some sort of team communication and maybe some good loot, it didn't look like a raid. And that's kind of what they're hyping this game up to be like that. To be like an MMO where you have raids and you have other types of endgame activity, not just a dungeon, which, they've come out recently and said that strongholds are dungeons. Like no two ways around that. It is a dungeon, so they're going to be raids. They're going to have mechanics. They're going to have bosses, all of the things we look forward to in an MMO type of game. My one hesitation is like, hopefully they have enough to satisfy the urge and the appetite to just go out there and constantly do these things.
Well, if they keep it as fluid as we were just mentioning, I don't think that'll be an issue, especially if they've built the game from the ground up to make it easy for them to add things in and take things out and make those changes they're talking about. If it's as easy as, spending a couple days and throwing in the code, I mean, I don't know if it'll be that easy, or if I'm just oversimplifying it.
Yeah.
But if it is something like that, I mean, it's such a major dynamic to gaming that it's nothing we've seen before. There's nothing we've seen before that like, oh yeah, this changed, and in 2 weeks it's going to change again, and in 2 weeks it's going to be this, and next month it'll be this.
Yeah.
So I mean, those are, if it keeps it fresh enough for things like that, I don't think we're able to have an issue. We're not going to have it where like we're running the same strike 5 times in a row in Destiny.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this strike again. I just played it. Like this is my 4th time.
And I think like you said, they've built some of this stuff into the lore where, we haven't really seen the Shaper Storm since E3 2017 or what that could potentially be.
Yeah.
Like, is that going to be like a Nephilim rift in Diablo where you kind of go off to the land of the unicorns and you're chasing elves down and stuff like that? Like obviously, like we'll contextualize everything the right way and have scars or the Dominion, mutated Dominion or something like that in there, but something that is different every time you go in. It's it's more procedurally generated, so it seems like a unique encounter every single time. But like when you go in there, you are gonna get like the Mac Daddy of all prizes, and that's when you go into doing something like that. That's what you need. Like you have to see like those things and not run away from them. Like oh man, this is just gonna waste my time. I gotta go do this other thing over here. No. You gotta see that thing and be like, we're going. We gotta stop everything we're doing and go to this storm.
Yeah. Well, I think too, added on to that is when they talked about getting loot if you Sherpa someone in an activity or an event or a mission, like you get loot because you helped guide that guy through the game. Like specific loot because of doing that. Like to me, that is so stinking smart. You're promoting like teamwork. You're promoting like they've already talked about guilds. You're promoting your guild. Like are they going to have something built in where like you can help promote your guild with stuff like that? Like, hey, I just shepherded you through this. If you really like us guys, join up with this guild.
Oh, like you're talking about the things that the Destiny tried to do and just didn't do as well as they anticipated. And, you know, like the idea behind that was so good, and they just did not support it the way it needed to be. So like you're saying, if they're gonna have guild support, or I think they're calling them their alliances, and if they have, you know, good alliance support, and they're gonna reward you for bringing new people through the game, that's absolutely immense, especially where we are right now. With what we were talking about before, with people playing traditional Bioware games that are single player games, they're going to be out in the world. They're going to be like, oh, I'm doing this thing, but I can't get more loot because I don't have friends. It's not anything. So if they see three people from the Mule Pack, and they're like, and you say, hey, look, we need one more guy. Let's go. We need your storm in here. Let's go. Yeah. You know, like, and you're going to get more rewards. They're going to get the rewards that they never got because they're not doing these activities. You know, that's immense. And to encourage that type of play is what's going to drive this game more. So now that this particular person, this solo guy, just got, brought in to a group, he's going to be more inclined. So if he had an enjoyable experience, which obviously if you're playing with the Mule Pack, you're going to have an enjoyable experience.
You may get some bags in there.
Yeah, the mule bags. Like he'll learn all about mule bagging, but he'll have a good experience, and he'll want to promote that with more people. So maybe he'll show his friends, say, hey, look, I just did this thing with 3 other guys. It was the greatest experience I've had in this game so far. Let's do more things, because that is 100% my experience with Destiny. 100% my experience with Destiny. The first time I did a raid, I was like, all right, that's it. I'm stopping everything that I'm doing. My job sucks. I don't care about it anymore. Like, my job now is to go find people to raid with, like
LFG, baby, let's go. And oh man, talk about like something cool where they have built-in LFG in the game. Mm-hmm. Like, that's huge, man. You don't have wasted time.
It's very similar to the way Monster Hunter does their looking for type of things, where you can say you need, or you're looking for this particular activity. Well, there's so many different like tiers of that too. It's not even just one particular LFG thing. Like, so you could say, I need help with this thing, out to everybody, and that'll kind of start the process of the looking for group. If you are in a thing, people are going to get alerted that you're doing things. So like, people on your friends list are going to say, like, so if I'm online and it'll say, Mulehorn 117's doing Scars and Villainy on the highest level, he only has 2 people in his party, I'll be like, oh, I'm getting in there. Like, let's
go.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a really great thing that they want to encourage the multiplayer aspects of it. And I think it's a good thing, because it's gonna help these other people that aren't accustomed to it. And I think if they really see what things are available with these multiplayer experiences, they're gonna want to do it more. Yep. And that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never gonna take anything away and say that a good story game is not good. It's just what I've gravitated away from at this point, because I love the interaction with people. I feel a great accomplishment when you finish a raid with your buddies and you get the good loot. Like, those are the experiences that I look for now. Or even like Darklife's in the chat. He's my best friend, my best man. Like, even if we're having a real crappy night at PUBG, we're still having a good time, because we're the best friends that people can ever have. But if we are playing separate games, we can only share those experiences vicariously. We can say, oh, I did this week. Oh yeah, I did that too. It was so cool. I like that. But when you're sharing the experience in real time, that's a whole different thing, man. And I think that's what I look forward to in games now.
Well, too, and it's one of those things where, like, I love single player story games, but I can't tell you how many times, like, I've been watching someone play Skyrim or something, and I'm like, man, I really wish I could just jump in and play with you. Like, I just want to jump in your story with you, and I'll be your meat shield, and you can be the mage, Like, yeah. I'll
draw the aggro. You just hit him with the firebolt.
Yeah. Like Circuit said, he's like, I can't wait to play with you, Mule, because you'll aggro the whole forest, and I'll just walk behind you and get loot. But, like, how many times have we wanted something like that? Or you've been sitting at home playing a game with one of your bros, just watching you play a single player, and he's like, oh man, this is really fun. This is really cool. I wish I could play with you right now. So I feel like with this whole thing, BioWare is just putting all these pieces together.
Yeah. And I think that like with Mass Effect, they had a really great like combat system designed for multiple people. Now it would just be much easier to have those multiple people say, "Hey, go do this thing," and we'll be able to do this much easier, and instead of saying like trying to point him over there and then he goes there and then like you accidentally hit the wrong button and now he's over there. It's like, no, that's not what I was trying to do. I just want you to throw overload at him so his shields go down.
Yeah.
So I mean I like the whole human interaction thing. Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to the multiplayer of it. Yeah. Regardless of whatever we get, I think that like as long as they have like multiple types of end game activity and ways to get loot, I'm down 100%.
Yeah, I agree, man.
And in encapsulated in a Bioware world.
Yeah, you still need some good story. I mean, it wouldn't be Bioware without great story.
Yeah, I agree, but I think they've got a good foundation right now.
Yeah,
and I think that's the biggest thing is that like they're really like reinforcing that this world. The only hesitation I have is that like there is a little bit of like a Mass Effect-y vibe to it, which I get because it's Mass Effect, it's Bioware, but you could have gone a little bit farther and kind of separated from that. That master race or precursor type of thing. Like I understand that the Shapers are a little bit different. They're more like the people that build the world as opposed to the Reapers that just oversaw all of the universe from organic life. Making sure that they didn't do anything wrong and destroy the universe as we know it. But enough of a similarity where they could have delved a little bit deeper into some sort of new area of lore.
Yeah, I've never really thought about that just because I'm so excited when I see gameplay.
Yeah, I forget somebody else did say like I think they were having an interview with Mike Gamble, Game Informer, I believe, and they said something to that nature. But I like I said, I am excited, but there's always like that thing. I have to throw something in negative to kind of balance out all the positive that I have for everything. Because like if I go in way too positive, I'm just gonna be like, I might be like too let down. So I have to like throw in a little tiny bit of negativity to say, or reservation, not even negativity, but reservation, just to be able to say, all right, if they do this and I wasn't expecting it, then I get more than I was expecting, and then I have a better experience. So
yeah.
Like I don't want a Destiny 2 it, like I don't want to be like 100% invested and then kind of get let down with the way some of the systems are, and yeah. I'm not saying anything bad about Destiny 2 because I enjoy it, but there is definitely things to be desired in the game.
Yeah. All
right, poll time. So this week we put the question on Twitter about the state of PvP in Anthem. We had a lot of discussion. Like I know you and I talked about it last week on Twitter. A lot of people just talking about the PvP in general. So we went to Twitter and we asked all of the people, which ended up being 34. Not as much as like the last week's poll, which was I think it was like 70 people were talking about which class they wanted, which is super exciting and super engaging. But this week we had 34 people. 36% they don't care. I'm already sold on the game, which is definitely like where I'm at this point. 32% said no PvP ever. 26% said hopefully it's added soon, and 6% said won't touch it without it. So I get all of that. I know I had a conversation with our buddy Wick because he was kind of upset that they didn't have it in there. I couldn't be bothered either way, to be completely honest with you.
I voted. Do you want to know what I voted for? No PvP ever. No and PvP. This is coming from a big PvP guy.
I think, yeah. Well, I mean that's the biggest thing, and that's why I wanted to bring you on here specifically to talk this topic because, you are big into Destiny PvP. You play a lot of Star Wars Battlefront. You play a lot of Overwatch. You're a vicious Genji main at all times. But I think this is a really, really good move, at least up front.
Yeah. So, okay, with PvP, here's the thing with games that are both, player versus environment and player versus player. And this is, I'm just going to use it, and I'm not trying to pick on the game. I'm just using it because it's something that most of us that are watching or listening kind of can relate to, and that's Destiny. Okay, so whenever you have both of those elements in a game, it's really, really hard to get balance. Like really hard. And so what you'll be stuck in is a perpetual cycle of hot fixes and balancing.
Yeah.
And we saw that with Destiny 1. We're seeing it with Destiny 2, where it's just a circle of balance, and nothing will ever stay the same because it'll sway one way, then it'll sway the other way, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. You'll have Thorn be really strong, and they'll get nerfed, and they'll get strong again, and they'll get nerfed. So anyways, so for me, there's really only one way that you can do PvP and PvE, and that's something similar to Halo, because you have guns that are static, sights that are static, things like that. And my worry is if you put PvP into Anthem, you're gonna really make the game in general very vanilla.
Yeah.
And you'll really erode a lot of the crafting you can do, the customization you can do, the ways that you can stand out, because then you have to balance all that. And so then there's not something that just makes you feel like a badass. Then it's just, oh, this gun that's really good, but it's going to get nerfed in 2 weeks, And that's why I don't want a true PvP in Anthem. Now, give me something like Gears of War Horde mode or Mass Effect 3 multiplayer or Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer, something where like you can team up and play against non-controlled players on the other side, where you're fighting hordes of enemies or whatever it is. That would be awesome. Like, I would love something like that. But if you say true PvP, I just don't know how they could do it without breaking the game, man.
I agree 100%, because Destiny has just been constantly fighting that battle for the last 4 years now, regardless of what iteration it was. Like, I'm not very well versed in MMOs, but it's like the constant struggle of having good PvP without, number one, so you have games like Division, and you have games that's more like you're in a social space, but you can get attacked by other people, and you just have tons of problem with griefing at that point too. It's not and that just goes beyond the fact of weapon balancing and ability balancing and all that kind of stuff. But I think that is the worst part about it. And I'll read this quote here that I pulled out. It's a interview that Mark Dara, executive producer, had with PC Gamer. He said, I don't know if it's off the table forever, but because of us taking advantage of not having PvP and pushing into more extreme kinds of loot, if we did have PvP, it'd be structured in a way that loot balance wasn't a problem, or a separate mode that you took different Javelin. We'd make a special Javelin just for PvP that has its own much more restricted loot tables. I wouldn't say never, but it hasn't been taken into account into our design at all, which I really think that's where the way they have to go right now. And if they do bring something out, like something else in, you have to like make separate static things. Like, this is the PvP, this is the PvP interceptor, this is the PvP ranger, or something like that.
Yeah. It's just, man, it can. I mean, that's why Halo, as fun as it is and as cool as it is, it's still very vanilla. Like, when you get the rocket launcher, you're not like, oh, this is Galahorn. You're like, oh, it's a rocket launcher. Great. It's a one-hit kill. Cool. Or a sniper's like, ooh, I can get a one-shot headshot. Cool. It's not like getting whatever other sniper or weapon you can have that's a little OP, or like getting Thorn in PvP in Destiny. Like, it just doesn't have that same feel.
Yeah. So,
I
agree, and I think I said it before that they're making the right move with this initially. If they want to add more competition into the game, which they think they're going to add competition to the game by races or scoring in different game modes. So I mean, competitive nature is going to be there, whether you're literally attacking other freelancers or javelins. That's a whole different other story that we might get in the future. But I mean, I think it's an interesting take that there's definitely a group of people that looked at this and said, if there's no PvP, I don't want to play it. And that was definitely a shock to me, to be completely honest, because I think most of the people saw this and were just like, I want the loot, I want the story.
What's funny is people will say that now, but when they start playing the game, I think a lot of people will kind of change their tune, because, man, just being flat out honest, and I play a lot of different games, and this is coming from a guy that's very, very PvP focused, right? Sometimes I don't want another battle royale mode.
Yeah, no.
Like, I'm sick of them, man. Sometimes I don't want to play PvP. I want to play a horde mode. I want to jump in Mass Effect 3 and play multiplayer. And, that's just how it is sometimes. Not every game needs PvP. If you want PvP, go play Call of Duty. There's plenty of games to play that.
I agree 100%. I think that's really the best way to put it too, is that like there are so many games now. And I mean, look at Call of Duty specifically, a game that is not necessarily known for its story, but then they pull it out.
Yep.
Because people think that, like, I guess the developers or the people at Activision say, hey, look, people want to play the multiplayer. They take out the story, and people are like, what did you just do? Like, why'd you do this? So I mean, that's the other opposite end of the spectrum, where you have two things and you take one out. It's easier to put something back in later. But I mean, the real point where I'm trying to get to with this whole thing is that, like, every game doesn't need to have both, and you don't have to sit there and try to balance both. It's much easier if you have one very good game, or one very good side of things, and you can balance everything in relation to that particular thing, as opposed to try to balance it in a competitive sense, and then balance it to the point where you want to have fun using guns. Like, look at Borderlands. Like, I know you don't have a lot of experience with Borderlands. Borderlands has never had PvP.
It's still going strong.
6 years. The game's been out 6 years, and people are still playing it like it's a brand new game. People still grinding it out like it's Destiny. So it's a two-way street, man. But I personally don't think the game needs it. And if they give us enough to do, we'll never need it. And that's the way I wanted to feel about Destiny. Yeah. Well, the way I wanted to feel about Destiny 2. Like, I got to a point at the end of Destiny 1 where I said, I am just so tired of playing with the same stale meta all the time. I want to have enough to do in Destiny 2 that I don't have to be forced to touch PvP. Now, what we have now is a drastic, a drastic difference from that opinion, because half of the stuff you have to do regards doing PvP at some point or another. So that's discouraging. I don't like that. Like, I like Destiny's PvP. I always have. It's always been fun to do, but don't force me to do it. Like, if I don't want to do it, don't force me to do it. So if I have this particular this many things that I can do to get to the max power, don't make one of them PvP. That's not fair. Dark Life saying it in chat right there. Diablo has no PvP.
Yeah.
People are. It's the 14th or 15th season of Diablo. Diablo's been out since 2011, I believe. Diablo 3. So I mean, it was re-released onto. No, 2012. It came out 2012. So it was out in 2012, released onto the current console generation in 2013 or 2014, and it's still going strong. People are still playing that game. It's a Blizzard game, but 17 seasons. I'm sorry, 17 seasons. Thank you for the correction. But that's intense, and that's another thing too, is that, like, you can play things like that and play different tiers or rankings or stuff like that in order to progress yourself or do more difficult encounters or something like that. Like Diablo, I understand that they don't want to make this game a roguelike, because you do a lot of work to earn this gear, but I mean, look at torment levels in Diablo. People love that stuff. If I died and lost half of my gear or all of my gear, I'd be devastated.
Yeah.
I would never play the game ever again. But
rage quit.
But it gives people that want that another layer of difficulty, of another layer of challenge that they can do, and it's something that you can do amongst your friends and say, hey, look, we're gonna go in. We're doing season 5. We're gonna do it in Torment. So if we lose our gear, we lose our gear. That's it, But that's something you can do. You can do amongst yourselves, and like competition doesn't have to be direct head to head. Like, I'm gonna kill you in a game.
Well, man, and not every game is designed for every person.
Yeah.
Like, just for example, like, I love PUBG, but I don't like Fortnite.
Yeah.
And it's huge, man. And, bro Wick, we both know he's a great guy, but maybe it's just not designed with you in mind, man. Like, and that's okay, because there's games out there that are designed for you in mind. There's plenty of VR modes out there that you can get your PvP on, man. So that's just the reality of gaming. Not every game is designed for every person.
Yeah, I think Destiny has, like, that unique thing where they have a very good PvP mode, and they have a good PvE mode, and they're okay at balancing. I'm not gonna say they're good at balancing it, but they're okay at balancing it. And I think BioWare is smart enough to not try to contest that. Like, they know that they're going to go into this and make a really good PvE game, and that's their focus. I think they just have to run with it at that point.
Yeah, and when you get into that balance circle of life, it takes up so much time and resources, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
On other things like, oh, let's give me a season of, oh, the storm's over here now. Like, hey, let's do that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So, all right, we're gonna jump to questions. We're jumping to chat and see who has questions for us this week. Sit there and talk about PvP for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
H said, "I'd like to see PvP with flight. They can add dynamic for not other game has right now." Yes, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if they put PvP into the game, it could make it very interesting. Green screen.
I'm still a hard no on that, man. Like, as cool as there could be, lots of cool ideas and things to do that. I just don't want another Titanfall.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Titanfall was designed with the PvP in mind, and then it never, then they added the campaign later. And a lot of people love the campaign, and I didn't. Mama Spoon, thank you for that follow, man. Appreciate you hanging out. Yes, it will be out February 22nd. If you have EA access or Origin access, it'll be out 5 days earlier. If you have Origin Premiere, you can play the full game, no interruptions, 7 days early. So if you're really itching, you can get to Origin Premiere. I want to play alone and enjoy it. Well, you will be able to.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the thing, is you have the option. You're not forced into multiplayer unless you want to. Like, and I love the way that I think Casey worded it. He said, you don't have to play multiplayer, but if you want to get the most out of it, it'd probably be good to hang out with your friends and go play it,
Yeah. Morbid says, gonna say flight reminds you of PvP and Titanfall and Call of Duty. Yes. Like I said, it would be definitely an interesting game mode. But I think the money is where they're investing it right now. What different types of characters? So right now they have announced the Ranger, the Colossus, the Storm, and the Interceptor. Those are going to be the 4 Javelins at launch, and they have not announced any particular additions beyond that, but I'm sure they will be there. All depends on how things are implemented. If it has PvP, it could be great or trash. It's all up to devs. Yes, I agree with you, and they've done some minor PvP things in like Star Wars and stuff like that, but like a head-to-head combative mode is not something they've like particularly done. Did they say what they did?
The abilities? Oh no,
they haven't like completely given us the idea of what all the javelins do. We have a pretty good idea of like the Ranger and the Colossus. Like the Ranger is going to be like your all around like jack of all trades type of thing, and then the Colossus will be like more like the tank, heavy hitting, in your face, out in front. What's Mule gonna play on?
Right there, probably PC and Xbox, man.
Yes,
I'm probably gonna do both.
Do you think there'll be any gameplay just as your freelancer, not in the social space? No, they already said that they're like, it is like for the lore wise, it's unsafe to leave the fort outside of your Javelin, so they're not recommending that.
It'll kill you, man.
It'll kill you.
Yeah.
It'll kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be definitely interesting. Like, people have suggested, like, what if you get into a point where, the main antagonist, sucks the power out of your Javelin and you're disabled and you got to crawl back to it. Like similar things we saw in Destiny, Call of Duty, types of things like that. So, they didn't say no to those things in the future, but not initially. So it'll be interesting to see. Someone asked a question about jumping into someone else's Javelin, and that hasn't been confirmed or denied. So I mean, but they said not at launch.
I kind of like the thought too that you're still just a dude.
Yeah.
Like, you need this tech in order to do what you do. And
you're Isaac Clarke.
A very specialized, trained person for it.
Yeah. Yes, you are, and from what we're understanding, it's like very like you have heightened senses and stuff like that when you're in the exosuit as well. Morbid says, will you create a custom character for your freelancer? Yes, you can create a custom character, but only your face and your hair. So body types don't change, and I believe they just confirmed today that the archetypes of the suits don't change regardless of male or female.
So you're telling me I can't be dad bod?
You can't be dad bod.
Here.
Yeah, you can't be Homer Simpson. Need guilds made up of multiple clans. Now they're saying alliance, like that's what they're calling these things. They're calling them alliances, but I don't know if an alliance is a group of guilds or a group of clans or something like that, or just alliance is what a guild is called. So they have not revealed enough of that particular aspect of it, and we should expect more things. I'd say at Gamescom. I mean, like, they haven't really said when the next time we're gonna see something is, but I mean that would be my hard guess at this point.
Gamescom or PAX West is my thoughts.
Well, see, like PAX West is a week later.
Yeah, but it's known as the developer PAX. And that's when all the developers show up and showcase their stuff. So it'd be interesting to see.
Clad said he'd be going with the Colossus, the big tank, the brute, if you will.
Can you guess which one I'm gonna pick?
I mean, like I already know because we've had this conversation before, but definitely gonna go with the Interceptor.
Yes.
I'm still on the fence. I want to see more. I want to see more of the Storm, and I want to see more of the Interceptor. I mean, the Storm seems pretty interesting to me, but I like sustainability in games like this. Like that's why I usually pick the Warlock in Destiny. So I mean, now I need to think about things once we see more stuff. Yeah. Good thing is that you don't need to pick one. You can switch armors. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the best thing about it is that you don't need to progress through the story multiple times to get to the point of seeing different things. And if you already have your heart set on one particular Javelin at launch, it'll give you a direct path to unlock the next one. So you're going to start with a Ranger, and then they will show you where you get the next one. So they might arrive at different points of the story, but you can pass up. So like say like you start with the Ranger, and then it would be like you unlock the ability to get the Colossus first, then the Storm, then the Interceptor. You can pass those other things and then go right to the next one first. Think about loading into Fort and seeing clan banners. I mean, that would be really, really cool. Like that's what I want to see, because they've already done really good things so far. Like the way you see Fort Tarsus in like some of the trailers and stuff like that, is you see these banners hanging outside and inside. So I think that'd be really cool as well.
That'd be a cool way to promote competition as well. As like, hey, if you're the best clan or guild or alliance, then your banner will be up here with these guys, and so people can see you and see your name up there.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because in the E3 2017 trailer, you did see like over one of the Javelins in the back, they had like ally of the week, you know, like somebody who's like done more for everybody else over the course of a week, you know. So that'd definitely be interesting to see, and I think they're going to take a lot of the online aspects to the next level, and that's something I want to see. TG kills it. I like big damage, and Storm looks sick. Yeah, Storm definitely looks really cool, but I want to see more. I want to see more.
Yep.
No, they're not forcing. They're not forcing which suits you. Which ones you have to do in order. So they're saying like the unlock, like the ability to unlock them all comes at different points, or may come at different points, maybe like minutes after each other, but there'll be a direct path to get the one that you want.
I want that Interceptor like ASAP.
Yeah. Well, I think for me the Interceptor is like the Legion of Dawn Interceptor looks really, really good.
Well, you know everyone's gonna go Colossus and Storm. You know everyone is. And
Storm is trending the highest right now.
Yeah.
From every community that I'm in, between I did the poll last week, Anthem Insider, the subreddit Discord, Anthem Universe, everyone's looking at the Storm.
I mean, the Interceptor with that little like Omni Blade looking knife he had was pretty freaking awesome, you know.
Put the Omni Blade in a
yeah, that's what it kind of looks like, you know. It's like a glowing sword, you know.
Yeah, Darklight's gonna be an Intercept as well. I know he was talking about that. Mobile Suit Gundam, yeah. And that's I mean, I'm sure they're gonna do a lot of that stuff too, like throw pop culture into some of the designs and some of the attachments, because the suits, basically like the suits are gonna be like different, like so like you see this character that's next to me here, like this is like a base suit, and then all of your attachments are gonna be different as well. So your helmet's gonna be different, your legs gonna be different, but you have like one base suit. I mean, that's kind of what they're giving us the impression of, but we don't know. I mean, we went a year with having 7 minutes of gameplay. We got about another 10 minutes of gameplay, and we're kind of like living off of these particular things right now. Devin, those light javelins are gonna get rocked often. Yeah, man, I think so too. But it's like the interceptor's got to be quick. Got to be quick.
Be squishy. You know he is.
And Mr. Never Feared, Devin from Freelancer Codex Podcast, he will be our guest next week on the show, July 2nd, Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And Evangelion, yeah, that's someone said that's exactly what these look like, is Evangelion. I've never seen that, but I've like someone mentioned it in one of the forums, and I was like, man, this is pretty legit. Is there a planned beta, and when? There is a beta, but they didn't say when. They haven't said when there's going to be a beta. They haven't said when there's going to be. There's a VIP demo that comes with pre-ordering, and they haven't announced that either. The devs called the Interceptor Speedy Boy.
Genji is with you. That's what I think of every time I hear that.
Yeah. Think it will be closed. I think there will be a closed beta. From Bioware in the past, they use Bioware Beacon, so it's beacon.bioware.com to register for their betas. So that was Dragon Age Inquisition. They did one for Andromeda that never happened, but that's where you signed up for it. And I would guess that they would do that again for this one as well. But I think the closed beta is going to be mostly for the pre-orders.
I will say in the Anthem subreddit Discord, I believe one of the devs also said you have a higher chance of maybe getting into something if you sign up for the newsletter on their website.
Yes, newsletter on their website, which interactive button, if the interactive buttons are up right now.
Yep.
I need healing.
Pretty much.
We got any more questions tonight, guys? This is a good one. We had a lot of questions today. Really liking where everything's going, and I think that the community is really coming together nicely. You know, I experienced some stuff when I was in the chat room for the reveal. So I was in the why isn't this game out now? I don't know. I've been waiting for like 6 years. Can you change your character whenever you want? Not whenever you want, in between missions. So you can't change your Javelin mid mission. So you can go to so you have a mobile base of operations, and you have Fort Tarsus, and those are the places where you can go to the forge and change your stuff. But outside of those particular spaces, you cannot change them. Call one in. I wish we could. 10,000 hours in Bioware games. Took a week vacation to stream Andromeda. Doing the same for Anthem. Same excited is an understatement. I agree with you, man. I didn't take time off for Andromeda, but my nephew was born that day, and I was like, my mother-in-law calls and she's like, you need to come home, and I can't watch your kid no more. I was like, all right, I'm coming home right now. So I left work early to go play. But I stayed up till midnight to play. I played till like 3 or 4 in the morning. Went to work at 7, and then left work. I was like so tired. I was like, yes, this is like the call I've been waiting for all day. 80 hours that week, crazy. What's your take, Mava? I enjoyed Andromeda. I've put I think 200 hours into Andromeda total. Yeah. Best part is they're releasing it on a Friday. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. They should like, I think premier AAA games should be on Fridays.
It just thinks of the consumer. That's what it feels like.
12 full playthroughs of the OG trilogy and 4 of Andromeda. Wow. I thought I played a lot of Bioware games.
On Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah, I'm like one in a third. It's tough to really tell when you, like I'm trying to finish up the achievements like in my current playthrough, so it's just kind of like getting through everything pretty quickly.
I will say though, I did, just to kind of pub a little bit, I did kind of nerd out when we did get to interview Tom Taylorson.
Yeah.
When Andromeda came out, dude, because that was just the coolest thing ever. Because I'm like, dude, I'm talking to Scott Ryder right here.
Yeah, and I think like the coolest thing is that he's very personable too. Like I've had many interactions with him on Twitter, and Like those are like he understood what he was getting into, like the fandom that would just rally around his presence, you know. So like Mark Mir is like a rock star in the video game world, same with Jennifer Hale, you know.
Yeah.
And I think Tom Taylorson just wanted to run with that. Like Frida Wolf, she's kind of like falling off of a little bit, you know, kind of was like, all right, I did this cool thing, but Tom Taylorson was just like,
he embraces it, man.
oh, absolutely.
But he's
absolutely.
done some voice work for Octodad. I think
Yeah.
he did some voice work for God of War as well, like he's some of the NPCs or something like that. So, but yeah, he's a really cool dude.
5 playthroughs of Mass Effect 3 and Mass Effect 2. I've done 2 full on 2, 3 on 3, and I'm in the midst of like 4 and 5 on Mass Effect 1 because of all the achievements that you have to get on it. You legitimately if you do it clean, you can do it in 3, but it's not easy to do.
I can't remember. I got at least 5 in each, but the multiplayer in Mass Effect 3, I think I spent over 1,000 hours in just the multiplayer.
No, you showed off. You're like you like put your stats up in the Discord the other day. You're like, I have 1,000 hours. All classes, male and female, Renegade and Paragon, did them all. That's the way to do it, and like every experience is like truly different, you know. And I think that was the best part about Mass Effect for me personally, is that like no matter what you did, like every playthrough was different.
You know, and what's exciting about Anthem, you know, the free content they're going to give out, the DLCs that they've always put out for these games have been great.
Yeah,
you know,
and substantial too.
Yeah,
you know, like I think Citadel might have been the best DLC for any game ever.
I have yet to play Citadel. I played everything but that. Yeah,
that's the one, man. That is the one.
Yeah,
like it hits you right in the feels like every single time.
Wow, I may have to. I think it's pretty cheap right now to download it, so I may have to buy
I mean, the best part for me is that like you can have Rex in your squad again.
Yeah,
and I was like, I can have Rex and Garrus again. I am sold.
Shepard.
Yeah,
I've seen the YouTube video of them looking at each other and being like, Shepard. I like that part. Yeah.
Thane is your favorite? Yeah, Thane's Darklife's favorite also. I love Garrus. Garrus will always be my favorite. It always pained you to see to let Rex die. I had Rex die in one playthrough. That was it. I had Rex die in one playthrough, and I had Morden die in one playthrough.
I actually saved Rex in Mass Effect 1.
So. Yeah, so did I. My second time through, I did. The first time I did, I was like, "What did I just do?"
Yeah,
he was my favorite.
No.
Darklife. Yeah, Darklife was a big Jack fan too.
You know, I really couldn't get into Jack.
No, me neither. I like, you know, the thing about Mass Effect 2 is that there was so many biotics in it. So I mean, you could pick like your pick of the litter, like whoever you wanted. So if you wanted Jack, if you wanted Miranda, or you wanted Samara, you could take any one of them. They were all adepts.
And Miranda, man,
like it's funny, yeah. And like the first time I saw Dexter, the show Dexter,
yeah,
she's in it, and I was like, that's Miranda from Mass Effect, and like my girlfriend at the time was like,
yeah,
it's just an actress. I was like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah,
you know too much. I do know too much. The romance with Jack, when she finally break through, always gets me. Not one that I've done before. Not one that I've done before. One of my playthroughs, I didn't romance anybody because I just don't know why. Oh man, I'm gonna play Mass Effect 2 soon. I'm gonna do it. I saw you post that thing on YouTube today, and now I'm like,
dude, got it. I felt the feels. I'm going through another playthrough, man.
Yeah.
Just gameplay. That's it.
Dexter, what a great show! With 2 of the worst final seasons ever. It wasn't awful. It was not what people expected, but it wasn't awful. All right, I think we're gonna get off here because like now we're just sitting here waiting for people to ask us questions about things. So we'll be back next. We'll be back next week. We're gonna have Devin, aka Never Fear, from Freelancer Codex podcast, the longest running Anthem podcast on the internet, and we're gonna discuss the journey, his journey with Anthem, their podcast, his unique experience with EA Play because he got to go to EA Play 2 weeks ago, and any other stuff we can dig up over the next week. So appreciate you guys for hanging out with us here today. And I really, really appreciate everyone. Check out the YouTube. I'm like shocked at like the traction we're getting on YouTube now. So Mule, you got anything else to add with everything?
Man, just let's all jump on the hype train. Let's go.
I'm the conductor, man. Choo choo.
Yeah.
All right, man. So you guys can find Mule at mulehorngaming.com, at Mulehorn Gaming on Twitter and Instagram, mixer.com/Mulehorn Gaming, and youtube.com/Mulehorn Gaming. Expect a lot more Anthem coverage in the very near future, as well as Mass Effect and Star Wars Battlefront. The Mule's always playing Battlefront, man. And for me, you can find me at the same places, at Lupo to the Rescue. And until next time, freelancers, stay safe out there. Hope to see you guys soon.